Alright, check this thing out. You don't see these every day. This is a 1977 Honda Z50. It's actually in pretty good condition, considering the year. Looks pretty nice. But it needs a ton of work. You can see in there, 1977. Kind of hard to see, but there it is. Maybe on this side you guys can see it a little better. 1977 on the VIN, right there. The seat's in really good condition. Looks like the original Honda seat. It's got Honda on the back. I've got a whole bin of parts for it right here. So this was actually dropped off by a subscriber. He ended up buying the KX80 that started on fire, and I think I sold the thing for like 200 bucks. So he took that home for 200 bucks, and then he dropped this off and wanted me to take a look at it and try to get it running. He said that I think he had it repaired at one point, it ran, and then he started tearing it apart, and then he messed up the points and something else, and that's why it doesn't run. He said to just go through it and try to get it to run. He also said that the kickstart right here was stripped. And he said I could just weld this right to it, and that wouldn't be a big issue. So he said for testing purposes, just weld that up if you can't find the part, and he doesn't really care. He said this thing was like 10 bucks. So we might have to do that. And then we'll probably go through the top end. He said it did smoke a little bit, so we'll see if it smokes today, if we can get it started. But yeah, it's pretty cool bike. I've owned a few of these, but never this clean. Let's see what the gas tank looks like. Oh yeah, she's a little rusty in there. Not horrible though. Looks like it was coated actually. So maybe that's just the coating on there. But overall, the chrome and everything looks pretty decent on it. A couple dings and dents, but it is from 1977, so it's not gonna be perfect. Everything looks original on it, so there's that. Let's see if there's any oil in it before we attempt to try to fix this and start it. I think there is a dipstick for this one. Let's see if there's any oil in there. Oh yeah, there's fresh oil in there. Awesome. So oil checks out. Does the brake work on it? Let's see. Yeah, brakes work. Let's see if the front one works. Yeah, front one works too. Cool. So it looks like it's missing the throttle mechanism. I think the guy is going to drop that off today so we can work on it. And then it's missing the, I think the tail light that might be in the bin of parts over here. And I think that's pretty much all it's missing. And then the headlight bucket is broken right there, so it needs a new headlight bucket. But he said he might have that as well. So, but yeah, I guess without further ado, let's start digging into it and see if we can get this thing to fire up. Because right now, obviously we can't get it to fire without it kickstarting, so that'll probably be the first thing. Oh, and also I wanted to see if it goes into gear. So let's see if we can shift her into gear. The shifter was off of it when I got it, so I just quick put it on. There's, I don't know, is that first? Must be second, third. Feels like it's kind of shifting weird. Maybe there's only 2 gears on this one. Not quite sure. We might have to fix that as well. Seems like it might be a little finicky with the shifting. Maybe the bottom end needs to be gone through as well. We will see. All right, quickly going through the bin of parts. Looks like there's some Woodruff keys. Here's the back panel for the light. Tail light, some gasket maker, stuff like that in there. Seat, gas tank. Here's the cover for the flywheel area. Looks like another cover. You can see the Z50 logo on there. Looks like maybe a potential Kickstarter gear in there. I'm not sure if all these are for the Z50 or not. It looks like just a bunch of miscellaneous parts, some bolts, some sprockets, stuff like that. What's in this bin? Might have the throttle cable and stuff in here. Let's see. Oh yeah, here's the throttle. Body. Looks like a cam chain. Looks like a rear brake lever, some sandpaper, oh, here's the taillight. Brand new. Some pads, spark plugs, gas line. So, we have mostly all the parts. He's going to drop off the throttle cable today and the throttle body mechanism thing for this thing. And then the slide for the carburetor as well. We need that too. I think he's going to drop that off today as well. So, without further ado, let's jump into it, see what we find. Alright, so I had this thing sitting a couple days. You can see a couple drops of oil coming out of here. Let's just take out the flywheel. The flywheel was off of it when I got it, so you can see a couple scratches on the flywheel. So it's rubbing on something. Here's the point system. Usually there's a bolt in there holding that on. But he said he had trouble getting spark and getting the points to work. So we'll work on that too. I also want to check compression, do all that fun stuff. But the main thing is getting spark. And it looks like this might be a new stator on here. You can kind of see the wires are kind of new going into the plug. So I'm guessing that's a new stator. Yeah, the flywheel, I wonder if that's the issue. I wonder if it's not producing a spark when it rotates. But we'll figure it out. Let's try to get that point system mounted up and then the flywheel mounted. Alright, so looking at the stator here, these 3 wires need to be soldered to the condenser right here. So this wire, that wire, and there's a thin wire coming from this coil going to that wire. I also noticed that a wire came off of here as well. You can see it looks like the solder broke on there, right there. So that could also be why it wasn't getting spark. So we need to resolder that to that coil as well. Not sure how the solder broke. I'm guessing when they installed it, the flywheel came around and knocked it off. I'm assuming. See, that just comes off like that. So this wire right here is going to the condenser, and the wire right here, oh, it broke off of that. Broke off of the little clip. See that? That broke right there somehow. So we'll have to get that repaired for sure. We'll get that wire to go there, and then the bolt goes through that clip right there. So it's kind of like a ground. So let's get that fixed. Alright, we got a new clip. Here's the old one right there. Alright, we're just going to solder this to here. A little bit over here as well. Should be pretty tight. Looks pretty good. When you put this over here, That bolt will go through there and it will ground out. So that's good. All right, now it's time to solder all 3 wires to the condenser right there. So we're gonna solder the 2 black first together, and then solder the yellow one to the 2 black ones, and then solder it to the condenser. I think that might be the easiest way to go about doing it. And just solder these together. Connected to the condenser, and it's kind of a tough angle, so I'll get that done and then come back. All right, everything is soldered in place. You can see all those 3 wires are soldered to the condenser. The wire underneath here is soldered. So now we are ready to put the flywheel on. We just have to find a woodruff key for it. All right, we got the flywheel on. The threads right here are kind of stripped out, so that's not good. We might have to clean up those threads and use a smaller nut, but for now we got the points opening, so let's just see if it has spark when we turn it over. Might be a little hard to test. Might have to get the Kickstarter to work as well. If the stator is fine, we'll have spark. If it's not, then something's going on with it. And we'll have to kind of play with those points as well. Looks like the spark plug boot was cut right there too. There's a lot of small stuff wrong with this thing. Alright, let's see what happens here. Oh yeah, I saw spark. Cool. See that? Ha ha ha. Sweet. Alright, we've got spark. We have hope. Alright, now let's try to get this Kickstarter to work. So right now it's stripped out. What's a good position to kick this thing? Probably like right there, I'm thinking. But let's first take this thing off and just see how badly that's stripped out. Maybe we can clean it up and make it work. Alright, so it kind of looks like somebody else tried to weld it on there. You can see this thing won't come off of here. So I think we're just going to weld her on. Alright, I just tightened her up and it seemed to hold pretty good. We'll see if it holds when we have the spark plug in there. But now we can really test for spark. Check this out. That looks great. Alright, so that's good. Let's get the spark plug back in there, put some gas in it and see if it just pops over. Alright, we're just gonna dump some gas down the carburetor quick. There's no slide in the carb. I'm still waiting on that part to come. So it might rev up quick. We've got the on off right at the handlebar though, so as long as we turn that off, it should be fine. But I kick-started it and it still is holding, so hopefully we can kick it through and attempt to start this thing. Alright, just gonna manually put some gas down here. Alright, let's see what happens now. Come on, baby. Yeah, the Kickstarter keeps on slipping. We're gonna weld it up. Just be done with it. Alright, all welded up. Let's see if it holds. Alright, Kickstarter's fixed. Alright, so she doesn't want to fire. We're going to adjust the valves. Okay, so the T right here is top dead center. So you can just put that to the groove right in the case right there. And that should be top dead center. And I did confirm it was top dead center. Just took a screwdriver and a spark plug hole, and that was the highest point where the piston goes. So we know in fact it is top dead center. Now we can go over here. We gotta take off this cap right here, and then we've gotta get the valve caps off. Alright, the valve caps are 17 millimeter. Looks like those are already pretty loose on there. Somebody must have been trying to adjust the valves here. That one feels pretty tight. I've got the bottom one. Get it off of here. Oil's probably gonna drip down. I don't know what the specs are, so we'll have to look those up. But at top dead center, we'll rotate it around one more time. We might be 180 out, but that valve was tight. Let's just see. Yeah. And that valve is loose right there. Very loose. We'll see what those adjustments are and adjust those, but you can see how loose they are in there. You can hear the knocking. Alright, so for the intake, the valve clearance should be 0.003 inches. Let's check that and see what that's at. Oh yeah, it's way bigger than 0.003. We're going to loosen that up. Alright. And then we're going to twist this little knob right there until we feel resistance. And right there, see how we can barely take it in and out? That's what we want. So tighten that guy up. And we'll feel if we can still move this in and out. See how you have that resistance there? So that's perfect. So now it just taps a little bit. Alright, exhaust is 0.005. We'll do the same thing and get that valve adjusted. Alright, so the previous owner, you can see they just put the seal on top of the other seal. So we're gonna get these out of here. Those were pretty crappy ones. There we go. Alright, that's better. Alright, now that valves are good, we're going to go ahead and check the timing. So again, same thing. Set this thing at top dead center. You can see the T right there with the notch in the case right there. To get this cover off right here, that's where the cam sprocket goes. We're going to get the bolt off right here on this side. So that holds that cover on. Alright. That off to the side. I'll come over here. Take this gasket off right here. And you can see there is a dot on the cam. Right there. That lines up with the notch right there. So this one actually is perfectly timed. You can see the notch lines up with the dot. That cam chain's really, really loose though. Wow. That is extremely loose. Look how loose that cam chain is. Wow. Alright, so there actually is a chain tensioner on here for the cam chain. Right underneath the shifter, there's like a little nut with a screwdriver slot in it. I just loosened that up. And then there was a plug right here that I took out, right underneath that we just loosened. So you take that off. And then inside of here, there's a flathead groove, and you want to turn that clockwise as much as possible. So that, right there. So you can turn that clockwise. Right now it's already tapped out, so unfortunately the cam chain will need to be replaced because it's already tensioned as much as it can go. Alright, the timing chain is not moving, so we're just gonna send her and try to start it up with the timing chain like that. It's loose, but not to the point where it's spinning on a sprocket. So let's see if it starts up now. Timing's on, valves are in spec. Alright, she fired up. I guess I had too much air in the system, so I plugged off the throttle body right there and fired right up. Leaking oil from somewhere. We'll put some more gas in her, fire it up. I want to see where it's leaking oil from. Looks like it's coming out from underneath by the flywheel. So I think there is a seal where the stator seats. So there's a seal actually on the stator plate that's supposed to seal that oil in. Pretty sure. So I think that seal has gone bad because it's leaking right. You can see right there. Down. So seal definitely needs to be replaced. It's definitely leaking pretty good. You can see it's just dripping now. So So I could see it was smoking quite a bit out of the pipe. That means that either the rings are worn or the valve seals are, but most likely the rings. We're gonna do a quick compression test just to see what compression's at, and then we'll do oil down the cylinder to see if the rings are in fact the culprit. Alright, let's see what we got for compression. Hopefully it's above 100. Oh yeah, we're above 100, 120 right now. Alright, let's see. Yep, we're at 120 for compression. So what we're gonna do now is take the compression tester out, put some oil down the cylinder, and see if that compression reading goes up. If it does go up, it means our rings are not sealing properly. So it would need new rings. All right, just gonna add a little oil to it. And we'll see if that compression reading goes up. All right. Alright, let's see what we get now. So as you can see, it shot up to 150 right there. So yep, rings need to be replaced for sure. It's leaking past the rings. Let's start tearing down this top end. So it looks like the pipe needs to come off all the way. Carburetor needs to come off. Then we can start tearing this thing down. We've got to replace the timing chain anyway, so may as well start tearing it down right now. Plus I want to know what the piston size is in there. Get this pipe off here. Looks like a couple 10 millimeters. Holding that on. Alright, we got the cam sprocket out, just 3 bolts holding it on. And the sprocket comes out and there's the cam chain. We just got loose right there. And then this bolt on the side has to come out. Everything's really loose on here. I don't know. Nothing was torqued down. Oh, look who wants to make an appearance. Coming to help, finally? Or are you roaming around? Vinny. That's the right size bike for you, bud. Vinny's now 14 pounds. I think last time you guys saw him he was about 10 pounds, so he's a growing puppy, right? Right, buddy? Yeah, well, anyway, let's get the rest of this thing off. See, everything feels like it was kind of not torqued down at all. Alright, then there's 4 bolts up here we gotta get off. And those have rods that go all the way through the cylinder and the head. Looks like it's coming. Looks like it might have a high compression piston in it. Look at that. But yeah, once we get the head off, everything else is pretty easy. Alright. Can we get this off with the wheel or the tire on there? Kidding me? Can't get it off without the tire coming off? That's ridiculous. Well, it looks like the wheel has to come off. The little valves look pretty good on here, so that's good. Cylinder looks pretty smooth. Looks like a newer cylinder. Really smooth in there. No scratches whatsoever. So that's good. There's the cam chain roller guide. And there's the piston, which doesn't look that bad. No rod play, so that rod bearing should be fine, which is lucky. A little side to side, but no up and down. So that's good. That's really good. And there's the cam chain that was stretched. We'll have to compare that to the new one, see how stretched that one is. But let's get the piston off, measure that, check out those rings, and see what that ring gap is. Alright, so now that we got the rest of the engine apart, at least the top end, we're going to take off this stator plate. So this stator plate, I think, has that O-ring seal around it that was leaking. I just want to see if that is in fact missing from it, or just really, really old. These are just held on by, this plate's just held on by 2 Allens. Look like that. So this whole thing should come off now. Oh, geez, all the oil's pouring out now. Ooh, better get my bucket underneath there. Might have to. Take one of these tensioners out. There we go. Alright, cam chain is out, and then you can see the O-ring gasket is a little bit old, it looks like. So we'll buy a brand new one and put that on. Yeah, this O-ring gasket was super, super loose in there. I just took it off. And it's really, really old and frail. Alright, all the rings were free on the piston. We're just going to take them off and then quick do a ring gap measurement. See what the ring gaps were at. And I don't know if the rings were installed correctly. We'll have to see. Let's see, so this was going up. There are no markings on it, so it must not matter which way the ring is installed. That one broke right off. That was really fragile. Holy cow. The oil ring. Alright, let's see what those ring gaps were. Yeah, the ring gaps are pretty big. Look at that. That's really, really big. That's like 4 times my biggest measurement on here. So that's why I was smoking. Look at that ring gap. And then the other ring. one's a little bit smaller, but still massive. This one was 0.5 millimeters, so half a millimeter. That's still too big. So ring gaps were way too big. But the cylinder looks good. So we can reuse the cylinder. We're gonna need a new piston. May as well put a new piston in it if we're gonna do rings. So these pistons are really, really cheap. But you can see it was nicked right there on the top. Almost like the spark plug hit it right there. But yeah, we'll order up a new piston, gasket kit for it, timing chain, and this thing should be all good to go. Alright guys, look forward to the next video. We'll order up some parts and we'll put this thing back together. And we'll see if we can do the first ride. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video. And until next time.